Okay, on behalf of the Adams County Sports Hall of Fame, welcome again to our annual ceremony. This organization started in 2001, and during that time we have been 158 individuals are on our Wall of Fame in the county seat of Gettysburg's Recreational Park. Hope you've had a chance to look around and see some of the people you might know or recognize, or some people in the past that you read about, etc. We're fortunate that the Rec Park has given us this room that we could certainly honor our inductees from the past 20 couple of years. Again, congratulations to our outstanding inductees, who through their efforts and will join the Hall as the class of 2022. This evening we'll be being recognized by family and friends who truly appreciate the giant accomplishments that they've done, and it's indeed a special honor, excuse me, bestowed on very few, as you see. We encourage you to join our local chapter, to become a member, and this enables us to continue our mission on honoring future classes locally, and also the very best throughout Pennsylvania, because you also, as a member, get a chance to each year vote for the final group of nominees, etc. So before I bring George up, you know, as an MC, you always have to get everybody in the right mood, you know, start chuckling a little bit, get your stomachs moving so to get rid of that food. So George, you being a basketball and golf coach, I guess my question out to you and everybody else, why couldn't the basketball stay in a relationship? Why couldn't the basketball stay in a relationship? It was always on the rebound. Another basketball one, George. A basketball rolls into a bar, and the bartender says, "Can I help you?" The basketball says, "I hear you need a bouncer." Now to change it to golf, George. Why did the prince bring his chauffeur onto the golf course? Why did the prince bring his chauffeur onto the golf course? His caddy said to bring a driver. And the last one, George, before we get John Campbell up here to introduce you. Why did the pizza always lose at golf? Why did the pizza always lose at golf? It's full of slices. Time to move on to the more serious end of it here. Before I bring the presenter up, John Campbell from Gettysburg College, who's certainly been around George for many years, coaching together at that institution. I'm very happy that George is being inducted this year. I was fortunate to be on his staff at Gettysburg College for 10 years. And no better man could certainly get in and deserve this. He certainly was an inspiration to his players, a great leader, great organizer, and had a lot of success at the college. And I was fortunate to be on assistant when his teams won a couple championships and also advanced into the NCAA tournament. So John, I don't know if you're going to mention that, but please come on up and introduce in a little more detail George Petrie.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it very much. It is my honor to present my colleague and friend. George and I coached for 29 years together at Gettysburg College for induction into the Adams County Sports Hall of Fame. George is a native of Springfield, Pennsylvania, Delaware County outside of Philadelphia. Comes from a very athletic family outside of George himself. His older brother, Jeff, was a all Ivy League player at Princeton, got drafted by the Portland Trail Blazers, and played several years in the NBA. His sister, Paula, was an outstanding player as I remember, as she played at the University of Delaware, where I was also a student at the same time. And I remember watching your sister play many times down there in the field house. You know, George comes from, said, an outstanding family. And as a player himself, George had an exceptional high school basketball career at Springfield High School. Graduated in 1968 and was eventually selected as a member of their Athletic Hall of Fame. George went on to attend Lebanon Valley College, where he had an outstanding continued his outstanding basketball career. He was a two-time captain while leading the Dutchmen to the 1971 Mid-Atlantic Conference Championship. After a tryout with the NBA Chicago Bulls, George graduated in 1972, and in 1998 was inducted into the Lebanon Valley Sports Hall of Fame. So this evening's induction is George's third Hall of Fame induction. So, yeah. George began his coaching career as an assistant coach at Haverford High School down in the Philadelphia area. That was in 1972. From then, he moved on to the University of Utah for 2 years. He was a graduate assistant coach under Bill Foster, who was a well-renowned college coach, Hall of Fame guy, while earning his master's degree there. In 1975, he moved on to Bucknell University, where he hooked on as an assistant with Charlie Woolam's staff, and for 14 years, George was coach's top assistant and recruiter. During his tenure, Bucknell won 4 conference titles, regular season championships, 2 tournament championships, and made 2 appearances in the NCAA National Tournament. Much of the work that was done, Coach Woolam always credited George with a lot of success of the team during those years. Having built such a strong resume as an assistant at Bucknell, in 1989, George was named the head basketball coach at Gettysburg, where he served the next 29 years until his retirement in 2018, making him the longest tenured coach in Gettysburg's illustrious basketball history. His career, 719 games coached and 396 wins, are both program records. His teams achieved an overall winning percentage of .532, along with 14 Centennial Conference playoff appearances, 3 Centennial Conference tournament championships, 5 NCAA tournament appearances with his 2008 team, which had a record of 24-5, which is a program record, advancing to the NCAA Sweet 16. And also, prior to Gettysburg being in the Centennial, George took the Bullets to an ECAC tournament. What's most impressive about this to me is it's hard to win. Unless you've been in athletics, you've been a coach, all right? You've been competitive in that. The average person doesn't understand how hard it is to win. Unless you're just in a situation where you just got better players, you got better resources than your competition, all right? It's hard to win. Everybody's got good players, everybody's got good coaches, everybody's got good facilities, everybody's got good resources, right? So when you look at a resume like George's, to be that successful, that consistent over a period of time is a tribute to outstanding success of George as a coach. In addition to that, his outstanding coaching record, George's teams were twice selected for the very prestigious National Schoenfeld Sportsmanship Award presented by the Collegiate Basketball Officials Association for the team's conduct and how they presented themselves during games. I firmly believe that, you know, how a team conducts itself in competition, on and off the courts or fields, is a reflection of the leadership of the head coach. So this was a great honor for not only the team, but George and his staff as well, because they set the example and they let players know what will and will not be tolerated. All right? Also, during his tenure, many of his players earned numerous postseason recognitions and honors that included 32 All-Centennial Conference selections, 7 All-Region selections, and 1 All-American. George also took his team on 5 different occasions to Europe for a combination of competitive game schedule along with historical and cultural tours of the areas that they visited. You know, trips like this, all right, are a lot of work, And I don't think the college gave you a bonus for that, did they? Those trips? No. There are a lot of work, a lot of headaches, and probably laying in bed at night with a lot of potential headaches, okay, thinking about it, all right? And there aren't a lot of coaches that maybe wouldn't want to deal with that. But I think, this shows George's commitment to his players and his program as not only as a coach, but also as an educator, as these trips were always regarded as a great overall athletic and educational experience by his players. Then there's the Corey Weissman story, all right? Which Corey Weissman was a freshman basketball player at Gettysburg in 2008. Highly recruited, scored 1,000 points in high school. Dreams of coming to Gettysburg, having an outstanding basketball career. During his freshman year of practice, he suffered a stroke, very serious stroke. Paralysis on one side of his body, and had to leave school. Prognosis wasn't very good for the future. But his goal was to come back to school and play again. And despite the long odds of this, he worked very hard. He went through a lot of rehab at home and came back to school, integrated again, and George kept him as part of the team, kept him involved with the program, right, and gave him that opportunity. Finally, he could get to the point where he could do some things at practice and help out. Senior year, he was on the team. Last game of the season, all right, senior day, George decides he wants to start him. Now, he still had some agility issues and whatnot, so there were some safety concerns. George reached out to the coach from Washington College, I think it was Coach Nugent at the time, right, and explained the situation. And so as they worked it out where Corey could start the game, and it was a major accomplishment, right? And so that worked out. We started the game. So as it unfolds, late in the game, we're up big, like maybe 20 points or whatnot. George says, let's get Corey back into the game. Puts Corey into the game. Obviously still, worried about some safety issues. The Washington coach sees this and tells one of his players, go foul Corey Weissman. So they deliberately foul him, sends him to the line, misses the first one, sinks the gym is completely silent. Sinks the second one, the roof comes off the gym. All right. And so this is a great inspirational story about how this kid made it all the way back. And sure enough, it hits the national media, ESPN, New York Times, finds its way to some movie producers on the West Coast through some different connections. And sure enough, a feature motion picture is made called 1001. And you can Google it or look it up, but it's a great movie. It's a great story. An actor by David Henry played Corey. And George has the distinction of being played by a famous Hollywood actor, Beau Bridges. So anytime you see a movie that's got Beau Bridges in it, think of George. So, but none of this is possible. This all happens possible because of two people. Corey Weissman, obviously, but George. George allowing Corey to come back, encouraging him, keeping him as part of the team, and reaching out to make that memorable day possible for Corey, his family, and everybody else. In addition to his outstanding coaching record, all right, in basketball, all right, George was also Gettysburg's head men's golf coach for 24 years, all right? So, despite all his duties and being a two-sport coach is very time-consuming and very tough, and George had great success at both. His golf teams won 3 Centennial Conference championships, had 27 all-conference selections, 5 all-region selections, and 2 All-Americans. It's quite an impressive resume. George Petrie is an outstanding coach, outstanding man, very deserving of this honor tonight. With George here tonight is his wife, Connie, and kudos to you, Connie, because being the spouse of a college or a high school coach, all right, requires a lot of sacrifice, a lot of understanding, and a lot of patience, all right? So kudos to you, Connie, with this. Also, his son Chris is here with him, his daughter Karen, her husband Max, and their 3 grandchildren, Caitlin, Nico, and Hugo. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to present George Petrie.
As George accepts a few things that we give him from our chapter, one is a nice plaque, and they were up here earlier. I don't know if anybody passed the table, but I'll just read one of them. It says, Adams County Sports Hall of Fame inducts George Petrie, November 17, 2022. We also give a couple, this certificate from us from the chapter, and it says, the Adams County chapter, Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, George Petrie, has brought lasting fame and recognition to to Adams County and its people through his achievements in basketball and golf. For his accomplishments, he is hereby inducted into the Adams County Sports Hall of Fame today, November 17, 2022. And then finally, I won't read the whole thing, but this is a nice one that comes down from the state. And it's, again, a meritorious achievement and nominating certificate for George Petrie. And let me read it. I'll read it just once. It's, whose attitude, example, outstanding athletic achievements, and dedication has exemplified the finest tradition and highest credit upon themselves, their family, their community, their chapter in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, therefore, pursuant to the authority of the bylaws of the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, this special recognition is hereby conferred with commendation and high honor. And it says, in witness thereof, this citation is given under the seal of the president of and the executive director of the state Sports Hall of Fame. And it just says given today, November 17th, connected with the Adams County chapter. Well deserving, George. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Being the leadoff hitter, I'll try to be quick here. First of all, I have to correct, there is in the program here, it says golf coach. No, I was golf chaperone, okay? I drove them to the match, I gave them golf balls, I followed them around, I listened to their complaints, I held their hand, I fed them, and got them home safely. And because they were so much better than I was, and still are. But I did have 3 rules. One was keep it in play, no 3 putts, and no hero shots, okay? And sure enough, we go down to South Carolina, we're playing in a tournament down there, and a kid's in trouble, you know, and I said, just punch out, play up, take your bogey, and move on. No. He's going for the hero shot. And guess what? He puts it on the green, turns around, looks at me, and he goes, Coach, you only remember the great ones. Oh, boy. Such a relief. The only thing I miss about golf is the 9-hour drive down to Myrtle Beach. But anyway, I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee. I'm just tickled pink. I can't get over it. And truly, for me, it's a reflection of all the players' accomplishments over that period of time. Because I didn't make any baskets, I didn't get any rebounds, I didn't pass the ball, I just, you know, did my homework during the week. Now they go out and take their test and go out and play. And, you know, sometimes it was good, sometimes not. I'd like to congratulate the other recipients that are going in tonight because you must be pretty good. And you must have accomplished a lot. And I'm sure it was all due to hard work and commitment, which is something to be really admired. I'd like to thank Bob Holton, who I saw up here, and also Chuck Winters, because I really am grateful that they gave me the opportunity to coach at Gettysburg College. The only thing I didn't have to change when I came to Gettysburg was my colors. I was orange and blue at Bucknell, I was orange and blue at Gettysburg. That was pretty nice. I do want to thank the following people who I consider to be part of my coaching staff. Not this coaching staff, okay? But the athletic department, the training room, Joe, Lefty, Mike. In fact, I was talking to Lefty earlier, this is true. At halftime one of the games, he comes down out of the stands and comes up to me and says, hey, he says, you got a hip problem. You better take care of that. And I'm like, 4 months later, hip replacement surgery. So Lefty, this was great. I appreciate that. Besides the training room, the academic advising, that was important to me and the people who worked there. The dining hall, facility services guys were great, you know, with everything we did with the gym, the health center, and of course admissions and financial aid. My assistants that I had are all local when I started out. And I see Jake is up here, Jake DeVinny. Jake was like the encyclopedia of basketball. I mean, there wasn't anything that he didn't know, or anybody. The funniest thing he said to me was, outside of basketball, we played Navy, and we beat them. And of course, we went down there, we had the meal in the dining hall, played the game, we won, everybody's excited. We get on the bus, and Jake's just sitting there real quiet. And he just, under his breath, he says, not only did we get the win, but they paid us for it. And he was a great guy. Tommy Flaherty was also one of my assistants when we started out, and just great basketball mind. And I had a local guy, Jack McClatchy, who passed away recently, and boy, another basketball. And he was a big part of the championship team 2009 because he took Andrew Powers and just kept him happy. You know, with the, is anyone here, we have some noontime players, right? That play in here, right? Does anybody have chipped teeth from Jack? Right? I mean, you just stayed away from his elbows. And of course, this guy right here. This guy diagrammed the best out-of-bounds play we had for years when we were scouting at Lafayette. You remember that?
Yeah.
You got it, and it worked really well, but we didn't call it the Joe Yuck play. But it was great having Joe on the staff. And I would recommend to you that if any of you are going to a convention, take this guy with you. Because when we went to the NABC tournament and the convention, he is a convention extraordinaire. Plus all our trips when we went to California and played in the Cal Lutheran tournament, Joe handled everything. In fact, I think he led the team in the comedy club, right?
I don't know when I could go there. What happened in California stays in California.
One other coach I'd like to point out is Mike Petrie, who was the women's coach at the time, and we shared a lot of discussions about our teams and basketball in general and everything. And of course, we loved playing at noontime with Mike Neff, and you know, because he was a big guy and set real nice picks. The most important thing, though, which John alluded to and I like too, is that this all wouldn't have happened to me if it hadn't been for my wife and my family. And I'm so glad that they could be here tonight. Chris came from California, and the grandkids are here, along with my daughter and my wife, because everything he said is true. And anyone who's coached, you know the impact it has on family. It's really challenging. When I came, the goal was to build a successful program, one that would be respected, and I think we did that over time. And I think we made Gettysburg College proud of what we were doing and how we were doing it. And someone asked me, you know, in the beginning, that's what we were trying to do, but at the end, looking back, it's like, what was your brand? What were you trying to do with the program? And there were three things: learn, compete, and grow. Learn as a person, learn as a player, learn as a student athlete. Same thing as compete. For 4 years, each year, compete as a person in the classroom, compete as a student athlete, you know, and compete. And the last one was grow, so that you take those things and you grow each year with that. And I think that's what we were trying to do. And I think the other things, I hope I'll end on this. If anyone here had the opportunity to see us play during any of that period of time, I hope you enjoyed it, because I really enjoyed coaching that. I mean, it's 5 guys, passing, cutting, dribbling, sharing the ball. It was like an all-American game. It's a little different now. But you know, I'm a disciple of the Princeton offense, and Pete Carroll has some information from that. And when you have 5 guys that are doing that, it makes people feel good. And they walk out of the gym feeling good about themselves because they work together. And Pete's favorite saying was, and I always remember this, if you can't dribble, the defense will attack you. If you can't pass, the offense won't work. And if you can't shoot, you'll always be open. You know, I used to get, I got that a lot. They come over, I said, look, you know, you're only shooting 22% from 3. You know, you have to put it back in the holster. He goes, yeah, but I'm open. I'm open. So I couldn't have enjoyed myself better. It was a lot of fun. I'd do it again. And like I said, I hope if you had a chance to see us play, you enjoyed that. And I appreciate it. Again, thanks to everyone, Lefty, Ed, Joe, and Parker. Oh, one last thing. In the movie, 1,000 to 1, it was because Corey Weissman was a 1,000-point scorer in high school, and he only scored 1 point in college. But Chris Navala was our point guard. We won the championship in '09. Corey was coming in to take his place, which, you know, never happened. But during the filming, he came up to the director, Levine, and he told him that somehow I had to get in the movie, and he told him, somebody came over and said, well, he ought to be an official. And I said, whoa, whoa. So that's how I got in the movie. I got to be an official and wear the stripes, and got a lot of ribbing because my technique was not very good. But Corey was great, and a great inspiration to the team and to everyone. And I think everyone learned a lot from him and his challenge to come back and play again. It was just great, great. So thank you very much. Hope you have a good evening.
Well, thanks, Coach. At least I'm noted for 1 out-of-bounds play in 10 years. Thanks, I appreciate it. The Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame, the state one, was chartered in 1962. It is the only community-based Hall of Fame in the country. And its 32 chapters serve so many communities throughout our Commonwealth. Each year, all the various chapters inducts area greats of yesteryear and endeavors to include athletes, administrators, coaches, officials, sports medicine, and sports media. And here in our chapter hall, we have all of those. We have coaches, we have athletes, we have sports media, we have sports medicine, etc. The first class of the state level was chartered in '62, but the first class was in 1963. And some of them are certainly well-known names: Stan Musial, Arnie Palmer, Jim Thorpe. In 1972, we had, from Adams County, our first state Hall of Famer, Eddie Plank. Great Major League Baseball pitcher, pitched mostly for the Philadelphia Athletics, and raised and born and lived in Gettysburg his entire playing career. In 1977, we had our other 2 Hall of Famers go in. Henry Brame, the football coach and the athletic director at Gettysburg College, and also Willie Sherdell, a great baseball player out of Adams County. We're hoping to get another one in this year. We have one up from DeLone Catholic, John Gabriel. He's on the list now of 35 will go up to the Board of Governors at the state level. John was on the DeLone Catholic All-State basketball team in 1974. He went on and had a great career at Kutztown. And then he eventually went to and became a scout and also an assistant coach with the Philadelphia 76ers. And he worked his way into administrative executive level. He was the executive leader for the Orlando Magic when Shaq played. He was there for 11 years. He then went to the Knicks, and he is presently with the Phoenix Suns, still helping out in some executive way. In the year 2000, for the NBA, he was the Executive of the Year. So we're hoping that he will shine. The hardest thing with us, and here's another reason why we're hoping that some of you will look in the program and say, on the one page there next to the last page, it says, become a member. You know, when you're in Adams County chapter, we're small. And when you go, when they put the names out there for throughout the state, who's going to get in, they'll look at John Gabriel, but they might look out at Western PA, and they might say, hey, we have some guys here. Our chapter has like 500 members. Let's vote for that guy. Let's vote for that girl. When they see little Adams County, we don't get that recognition like we maybe should. We might have some great people to get there. So I'm asking you to take your $15, look at that there, send it in, become a member. You have then the ability to nominate anybody that you know from Adams County that's brought fame to this county. George was an outsider in a sense, but he made the fame here at Gettysburg College, so he doesn't have to be born here. So we need your input, not only nominating, but also voting, and then also voting on the state level. So hopefully, out of those 35 that are going to go on there, and John Gabriel, hopefully he'll be one of the top 20 that then will go out to the entire state. So we got our fingers crossed to get somebody else in. I was just recently at the state convention induction banquet in Reading this year. And two people that you'd never recognize that went in was, one was Dick LeBeau, the defensive coach from the Steelers. So he's just got not only nominated, but voted into the state level. Marty Schottenheimer, he's deceased now, but he was the head coach with the Cleveland Browns. He was also head coach at Kansas City with the Kansas City Chiefs. He was a couple of years with the Washington Redskins, I guess now Commanders, but back then it was the Redskins. And then he finished up with, I'm trying to think his last team he was with. Anybody out there? John Fisher, you remember? Chargers. The Chargers, thank you, San Diego Chargers, right. He has over 200 victories as a head coach at the NFL, and he's the only head coach that's never been into the Football Hall of Fame. He's in the State Hall of Fame for us, but not the Football Hall of Fame. So it's sort of odd, the only one with over 200 victories that's not in. So moving on, again, think about that. It's only $15 a year, and we'd love to have you be a member, a voting member, and a nominating member. Next up, we have our Mr. Perry, all right, Scott Perry. And he will be, I'm sorry, Perry Smith. Where am I going? I'm way off. I apologize. Yeah. He's going to be presented by Chris Haynes. I know Perry so well, and I don't know why I said that. You know, I get up here and sometimes I get all a little confused. But we can't go on here before we tell a couple wrestling jokes, Perry. All right? And for all you that are here to honor, Coach Smith, this is a question for all you wrestlers. What do wrestlers eat for lunch? Hulk hoagie. I guess some of you don't know who Hulk Hogan was. I guess I'm not. All right. Why did The Rock always refuse to wrestle? Why did The Rock always refuse? Who did The Rock always refuse to wrestle? Paper. Okay. Chris, please come up and present Harry Smith.
He's going to have to stick to basketball jokes. It's an honor to be here tonight to present Coach Smith, and I say it's an honor because he never really asked me to. About a month ago, he said, hey, clear your schedule for this night, and our high school season starts tomorrow, so I figured, last-minute advice, and then last week he says, by the way, you're speaking. Awesome. Okay? I actually wrote something down. Normally I don't write anything down, but my wife advised me it would be a good idea tonight. So, Coach Smith is a 1980 PIAA state qualifier in wrestling for Gettysburg High School. He continued his wrestling career at Westchester University with a record of 83-29. After completing his master's degree at Temple University, he taught and coached at Paulsboro High School in New Jersey. In 1990, he returned home to Gettysburg to be a phys ed and driver's education teacher while coaching wrestling and football. From 1992 until 2013, Coach Smith was the head wrestling coach, compiling an overall record of 224 wins, 172 losses, and 1 tie over 21 seasons. In 1999, he won the program's first ever District 3 AAA Team Championship and was recognized as Coach of the Year. In 2013, he was inducted to the District 3 Wrestling Coaches Association Hall of Fame. In his career, he has coached 26 sectional champions, 8 district champions, 6 100-match winners, and 15 PIAA state qualifiers. At the PIAA state championships, the program under Coach Smith had 6 medalists and 1 state champion, Ken Haynes. And Coach, he was planning on being here tonight, but he's closing on his house, of which I may have just told my mother that that's happening. So, at Gettysburg, he also serves as assistant football coach for 14 seasons and assistant girls tennis coach for 4 seasons. All right. Best conditioned tennis team in school history right there. Since then, he has continued to be assistant coach at Gettysburg with me. We refer to him as the godfather of Gettysburg wrestling because his knowledge and ability still continues on today. Ultimately, his achievements kind of speak for themselves. So what I decided to do here this evening is I want to share a lot of the life lessons that he has taught us, generations of us over and over, and how that has changed our lives, how that's influenced us, how that has taught us to conduct ourselves throughout our entire lives. So, over Coach Smith's teaching and coaching career, we have learned where he has delivered milk for the family business. Whether we were traveling on a bus to a match or in a van headed to a tournament or in the driver's ed car, we learned the locations of his deliveries. We learned which deliveries were being made to which locations. We learned the piece of pie or cake he received at particular locations and all the unique individuals in which he interacted while on these travels. The value of a routine, the value of a responsibility, and the value of the role served within the family business shines every time he tells these stories, and he tells them a lot. Life lesson, develop your routines and stick with them, and eventually tell kids the same story over and over and over again. Learning to drive is a life skill, and Coach Smith has instructed thousands of students on how to properly navigate the roadways. Outside of those skills deemed necessary to drive, Coach Smith has also taught us the importance of doing what he says and not what he's about to do. Many of the lessons we learned while traveling to tournaments, but probably most importantly was the ability to improvise, the ability to know and understand that the laws of the road don't exactly match what is needed at the time. Speed limits, complete stops, one-way roads, and recently the turnpike U-turn are all optional or options depending on the situation. Life lesson, always be prepared to change your roadmap when needed. Coach Smith comes from a very large family. Many of his brothers are here this evening. And the type of family he grew up in with so many siblings was one of those families where when dinner was called, you had to get to the table first or you didn't eat. And we have assumed over the years that this upbringing has caused him to probably be one of the most frugal, penny-pinching human beings you'll ever meet in your life. On every trip that we took, we learned the value of coupons, searching grocery store parking lots for change, making sure that we have memberships to Sam's Club, Costco, and Aldi's. We also learned that when staying in hotels, that the supplies in the room or on the maid's cart in the hallway were fair game. You always made sure that you filled your trash bag with soap, shampoo, toilet paper, and coffee because it's cheaper than buying it at the store. My son also learned this evening that when you're at your Hall of Fame induction and there are leftovers on the buffet, you make sure you get some food to go. Life lesson, always get your money's worth. Over the decades of teaching and coaching, Coach Smith has collected endless stories and experiences. He has shared these stories endlessly, like we've heard the same story over and over. Hundreds, maybe even thousands of times. The bus spinning on Route 15. How many have heard it? The Ken Haynes elevation elbow dislocation story. Who's heard it? The Justin Shoe peeing in a trash can story. Who has heard it? The story in which he had the teens spend the night in a fraternity house the night before districts, and the fraternity house had no heat. It was February. Driving home from districts in a blizzard and losing a student who went out the door to look for his hat. The cats in a box story, of which I need to check with some siblings and see who was involved in that one. Hey, the car breaking down on the way to scout the football game. Endless amounts of stories. Some of us weren't even alive when some of these stories occurred, yet we still have the ability to recall these stories as if we were still there. Life lesson, if you're going to tell a story, tell it like it happened, because you may end up telling it 1,000 more times. Coach Smith has been the unofficial physics teacher at Gettysburg since he started teaching. If you had ever completed a single season with Gettysburg Wrestling, possibly only half a season with Gettysburg Wrestling, you learned what a fulcrum was. Apparently every wrestling move has a fulcrum. Some of you are like, what the hell is a fulcrum? We can show you. Life lesson, use a physics word, they won't remember anything else you said. And after learning about what all these fulcrums were, we would be in an intense wrestling match. You'd be on the mat, and you would hear Coach Smith's favorite technique words coming from the corner. Throw technique out the window. Life lesson. Sometimes in life, you just have to find a way. No technique, no answer. You just got to get it done. And the final life lesson I want to share here with you that Coach Smith has taught us is to care. Show them you care. Whether it's a hug or a word of encouragement, whether it's a foot up your ass, whether it's a stern look, it could just pretty much be anything like sharing a story. Coach Smith has spent decades letting students know how much he cared by investing in them, by spending time with them, by being there for them. And whether they said thank you or not, he did it. Coach Smith, thank you, and congratulations on your well-deserved Adams County Hall of Fame.
Hey, Chris, hopefully you'll tell me some of those after so I can have some new material next year, okay? Appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Put this underneath here if that will help, okay? And then get it out of the way. Okay?
Great. Okay. All right, first things first. Why the tux? And it kind of ties into what Chris was just saying. Joanne and I's daughter, Courtney, got married on Saturday night. I had to wear a tux. And when I was getting fitted for the tux, I asked the gentleman, I said, when does it make sense to buy the tux or to rent a tux? And he basically said, look, if you're going to wear it 3 times, it makes sense to buy the tux. Daughter's wedding was on Sunday night. Wear number 1. Tonight, wear number 2. New Year's Eve, I'm attending another former wrestler's wedding in Springfield, Illinois, where number 3. I got all 3 within this year, okay? So I look at it as it's a win-win. And Joanne's going to outlive me, so I know I'm probably going to get like buried in this thing. So I'm ahead of the game. Now, you know, Chris calls that frugal. I call that smart, okay? And you can't tell me there's not a time where you're down to no toilet paper in the house. And if you had one roll, you'd love that roll, right? Okay? I make sure we always have that roll. Okay? Chris, thank you for that, introduction. Okay? I'd like to thank also the Adams County Sports Hall of Fame Committee. Ed Riggs over here on my right. I'm looking at Lefty Beiser. Lefty, can I tell him what I asked you earlier? Sure. I asked Lefty how old he is, okay? He's 87 years old. Now, he's not going to remember this, I don't think. But when I was in high school, my senior year, I had a pretty significant ankle injury towards the end of the football season. And my coaches, they said, we're taking him over to Lefty Beiser. And Lefty did some magic treatment and was able to get me through the rest of the season. You remember that? Yeah. Yeah, that was long time ago. I'd like to also thank Max Lang, okay, along with Chris, who did the nomination for me as far as writing it up and submitting it. I've been surprised when I come in here this evening. I did not expect to see this individual, but I look across the room, and there's Gettysburg's first wrestling coach, Doug Meisenhower, all right, who shows up unannounced, okay, back from 1970 when the program started, okay. He's a Red Lion guy, but he was at Gettysburg at the time and got the program up and rolling. So there's a lot of people who, having grown up here, and yes, having 11 siblings, 1 of 12 kids, you learn values that probably you couldn't learn in a lot of other environments or settings. So I was very fortunate in that respect. Another individual came up to me earlier or later on here this evening, and I looked at him earlier and I thought, who is that guy? Who is that guy? And it's Steve Ryder. And Steve was a member of the high school football team at Gettysburg my first year of coaching, which would have been 1990. All right? And he's all humble, like, do you remember me? Yeah, I remember him. I just couldn't remember his name. So, you know, I'm looking at these people, and it just, when I saw that I was fortunate enough to get this nomination and be inducted, I saw Lawrence Williams, another former athlete that I was coaching. He played quarterback at Gettysburg High School, went on to Lehigh. So it's a very small, close-knit family or community, and I look around and it's just like, it's really very humbling. Before I came back to Gettysburg, I wasn't aware of it at the time, but when I graduated in 1980, Gettysburg wrestling was very well respected. We were Blue Mountain League co-champs. It was a big deal, so forth. Went off to college, and when I came back in '87, I wanted to get a teaching position, and it was kind of hard to get a teaching position, but I found out that our program had really come across some hard times, like from the mid-'80s up through 1990, in that time frame. In fact, it was almost dropped from our athletic department as a program just because of lack of interest. Well, there's 2 individuals here tonight, Joe Amato, Lanny Winters, who were part of a committee of 5 people, went before the school board and basically begged them to keep the program, not to let it be dissolved. And if it weren't for that, I'm not standing here tonight. Okay, so there's just a lot of things, benefits of growing up here in Adams County that I feel very, fortunate and humble. There's many members of my family here tonight. I'm not going to go through all their names, but it's just really special, really special. And the one I got to remember now, my wife, Joanne. Joanne, would you stand up, please? Okay, that's my beautiful wife, Joanne. And as it was already mentioned up here, unless you're a coach and have experienced this and been a spouse of a coach, you got to have that rock back at your home, because if you don't have that rock and that support, you're not going to be successful. Okay, And without Joanne, that certainly is true. So, and there's a lot of former wrestlers here, and I look out like Wes Winters is a administrator down at Southwest High School. There's just a lot of people who have gone on to some very nice things, and to think that our program had something to do with that is really kind of, it's special. It's very special. So my first year back, I remember this, just a quick story, very vividly. We were up at Biggerville High School, okay, and we were wrestling in a match, and as I said, the program had really kind of fallen on hard times, and we hadn't been very successful for the previous 4 or 5 years. And there was a call on the edge of the mat where I thought our kid scored some points. The official didn't give us a call, and I said, it's not a good call. And I'll never forget this. He took his whistle out of his mouth, he looked at me, he said, "Shut up, coach, you guys suck." Okay? And that was where it was like, man, we got to get this back to respectability and bring it back. But that's the truth. I'm not going to tell you the gentleman's name, but he was a well-respected official, and he just basically said, "Shut up, you guys suck." And that's the way we were looked upon. But so the objective was just to regain what I call respectability within not only the county here, but throughout our league, Mid-Penn, York County, whatever. And that was the goal. That was the goal. We wanted to be respected again. Not maybe necessarily as district champions or individuals who did really well, but as a program, we did things the right way. And I think we've more than accomplished that because fortunately we had Chris and Kenny Haynes come up through the program. Chris obviously has done some incredible things with the program presently. District finals 3 years in a row, 2 times district champs. And that's kind of a big deal. You know, there's only 2 classes in Pennsylvania as far as wrestling, AA and AAA. And Pennsylvania high school wrestling is regarded as the best wrestling state in the country, okay? So if you're successful in PA, you're doing some things right. So and that is very, to me, very rewarding, just the fact that we are respected. And I think, you know, if I was able to have a small part in making that happen, right now our girls program, okay, is recognized as one of the best in the state, and that girls wrestling is just taking off. It's going to be recognized within a couple of years as PIAA sport, and people are going to look back and say, hey, that happened at Gettysburg. A lot of that started there. And that's a tribute to the people who are involved right now, primarily Chris. So, I don't want to really say anything else, okay? But really, like three wears within a year, that's pretty good. So, Blake, you getting this, right? You brought me the food, okay? So make sure you take notes, okay? Thank you very much.
The Adams County chapter concludes its calendar year with this induction showcase. Our ceremony normally seats 5 living and 2 deceased, and it is based on nominations again and voting by our members. We had no nominations this year for deceased. So if you are a member and you know anybody, or if you plan on joining and you'd like to get any deceased in connected with our county, please do so for next year. As you see, each inductee receives a plaque. They receive the state certificate. Their pictures will go up here soon with their bios. Some of them from last year are along the side, the 2021 class. They didn't go up on the wall because I was notified by the rec park here that they're going to be doing some winter changes in here, maybe repainting or whatever. And I think because we're eventually going to run out of space, they are going to move these pictures where there's going to be, like you see, 3, 2, 3. They're going to probably go 3, 3, 3 all the way across. So hopefully we're good enough for another 4 or 5 years, and then we'll have to worry about what's going to happen next. So if you have an extra large garage or something that we could, use, yell out to us, okay? Because you'll get the plaque outside too, Adams County Sports Hall of Fame. When we receive nominations, the screening and selection process begins, and it is done by a highly disciplined group who I'm looking around. We have Ed Riggs, who is our historian, Parker LaRue, who is our treasurer and secretary. In the back, we have our past president, and he's now president emeritus, John Fisher. Wave your hand back there, John. Okay, we have some new members in the past year. Dan Mamara, way back there, he became a member, and we were happy that he wanted to get on the board. We have Adam Michael, who is not here, just recently had a little baby boy. Is that boy, right? Yep. And he's just like so wound up with that. He's off on another tangent, that's all I'll say, but that's typical, I guess, a lot of times for first parents. And finally, in the back, we have Matt Sheeds. Matt also joined us just recently. He's well known around Gettysburg, and he loves sports, and he's happy to be part of it. Did I miss anybody? Did I get everybody? I think so. So anyway, this board sits down with those nominations, and then we determine who should be the top 10. And then those top 10 go out to our members, and they've narrowed down to the top 5. So you 5 who are inducted have come from other nominations, from other people, and then it was narrowed down to 10, and the membership, which is in the hundreds, have chosen you folks. So again, that's great. So again, tonight is the culmination of all that structure. I guess next on the to be introduced, and I am presenting them because I was their coach in high school. And but before we do that, girls, we got to talk about a few tennis jokes, okay? What happens when you cover a tennis racket in ice cream? What happens when you cover a tennis racket in ice cream? You get a soft serve. Why did the mom hush the kids at a tennis match? Why did the mom hush the kids at a tennis match? Because they were making a racket. And finally, one more. Why did the Beatles, our singing group, the Beatles, always lose at tennis? Why did the Beatles lose at tennis? Because they thought all you need is love. Okay. Love, for those who don't know anything about tennis, is 0, okay? Okay. When I thought what I was going to say today, and I was thinking about the time I spent with these young ladies over the years with coaching, I had to get a little theme. And I was thinking the theme was yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Yesterday, naturally, the time we spent coaching them and being with them and them being with their teammates and the success they had as individuals, as teammates, as doubles partners, and winning championships, winning district championships, winning silver medals at the states, and then finally their senior year winning the gold medal championship. And then I looked around this room and I said, there is no other tennis individuals on this wall, on these walls. These are our first tennis inductees. And rightfully so. They hold all the Adams County records. They hold them for the most wins during a high school career. I won't go through numbers. Numbers are one thing. They hold even higher than on the collegiate level, where they were stars, set the records on that level at Shippensburg University. So then I was thinking, okay, then what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about legacy, the word legacy. So when I think of those young women, legacy comes to my mind. And 3 words. And as I say these 3 words, think about them throughout what else I talk about. The 3 words are influence, betterment, and wisdom. Legacy. Influence, betterment, and wisdom. When you think about legacy, it's a lasting impact on so many people. And they certainly had a lot of impact on their teammates, on their community, on little kids in elementary school, etc. That's a legacy. Leaving a legacy means thinking big and dreaming big. And since I began, they're thinking that their goal was to be state champions. And they definitely changed things for the better. Leaving a legacy means doing something that will be valued. And the value doesn't necessarily mean a championship. It doesn't necessarily mean a gold medal. It means a lot more than that. A legacy has faith, or it's built in faith, ethics, great ethics on these girls, and core values. A legacy comes from character, reputation, and the life you lead. Setting an example for others and guiding and encouraging them to go down certain pathways. And they certainly did that with their teammates. You're not going to be successful on your own unless you are surrounded by other individuals that want to work as hard as you do. The most treasured forms of legacy are found in intangible gifts, values, memories, friendship, and respect. It wasn't the final destination. It was the journey along there that was so much fun. You know, the little moments, the memories when they had to squeeze out a win. The respect they had from their opponents, and also the respect they had from their own teammates. The author Maya Angelou said, if you are going to live life, leave a legacy. Leave a legacy and make a mark on the world that can't be erased. Everything they've done in this county will never be erased. It might be hard to top, too. Living with a purpose is the most valuable thing one can do. The greatest legacy is a positively impact on the lives of others. These ladies certainly did that in the past, changing the game of tennis at not only Biglerville but also Adams County. And they put their small community at that time on the state tennis map. And it's been going on for probably, even after they left, about another decade and a half. And every time you talk about their name, not only in the Upper Adams community, but sometimes throughout the county, they'll say, oh, the Motter girls, yeah, they won the state doubles championship. That name is remembered. It all boils down to living a life with a meaning and a purpose, and they sure did. I take you back to 1985. At that time, I was the head coach at boys basketball for Biglerville High School. I was coaching at one time 3 sports. I was coaching, football. In the fall, I was coaching basketball and also some baseball. And I started teaching in 1972, so it's now the mid-'80s, and I started raising a family, etc. So I sort of backed off, and I only was the head basketball coach. So now it's the spring of '85. The athletic director walks up to me. He says, "Can you help me out? We need a girls' tennis coach." And I looked at him. I said, sort of like what George Petrie said. How could I do? I don't know enough about tennis. He says, "You're a coach. You were a health and PE teacher. I'm sure you got the class in college." I said, "Yeah, by the way, I did." I said, when I did, back in college, I was a pretty decent racquetball player. Intramurals, I was the Temple University champion in racquetball. And I said, during the 80s or late 70s, I got my master's degree at University of Maryland. And it was the summertime. I used to go down there for classes. And I had some free time, and I would go out to the tennis courts. It was the cheapest thing a teacher in those days could do, and get their exercise. So I played a lot of tennis, just self-taught, and learned a little bit about the game. So I said, okay. He says, just do it for a year, just 1 year. We'll get somebody else. I said, that's fine. I could do 1 year. Now we come to the beginning of summer practice in August, and out comes these 2 little sweethearts. Okay, Jill and Joy Motter, twins, identical twins. Never could, and even through their senior year, I never could tell them right. It was horrible. The girls on the team would laugh at me. They said, "How come you?" I said, "They just look alike. I can't tell." So the only time and they would play games on me. They would switch around, or whatever. Like I came in tonight and I said, "Hey, Jill, how you doing?" She says, "No, I'm Joy." And I'm glad they're sitting with their husbands, because I could now tell them, oh, no, they're not. They're sitting next to each other. Okay. Although Jill is sitting next to Mike, her husband. Thank you. Okay. And again, the only way I would know is one was right-handed, the other one was left-handed. So that was great. But in practice, they would goof off and switch hands, and I'd be calling the wrong name, and all the girls would laugh, etc. But during the match, I knew who they were. So the first year, it was pretty exciting. You talk about that wisdom. I grew a lot. I grew a lot from those kids. Their teammates grew a lot. They saw how much the game meant to them, and they started working at it too. And we didn't do too bad. We were runner-up. Matter of fact, we lost to Gettysburg High School in those days in the old Blue Mountain League. They won it. We said, some of the people were saying, oh, those girls, they have a tennis court in their backyard. No wonder they're okay. They're good. And I used to laugh. I looked right at them. I said, there's a lot of people that have pools in their backyard too. Are they Olympic swimmers? So, you know, things like that. So now the year's over, and I'm thinking, should I go back? Well, pretty stupid not to. I almost had the entire team coming back, and I had the two best players in Adams County, and maybe stretching that further. They're still freshmen, still learning themselves. So when the AD said, do you want to coach? I says, okay, I will. So next year, we win the championship. And now their teammates are getting serious also about the game. They're not learning so much from me. They're going to camps. They'd go down to York to the camps. They would go and take some private lessons, some teaching pros down in Hanover, up in Carlisle. So they got their teammates to go on a path, not forcing them, just by just showing them what to do. And the girls were enjoying winning also. Their sophomore year, they win the district championship in doubles. And the funny thing about the PIAA in tennis back then, you could not go ahead and go on to the state level and play singles and doubles. That was the rule back then. So if you were a good singles player, and Jill and Joy were, they would advance all the way up to the quarterfinals of district singles. If you reached the semifinals, you then qualified. If you, even if you lost the semifinal, if you won the consolation, the top three went on to the states. But out of respect for their opponents, when they reached the quarterfinals, they defaulted. They didn't want to, because they knew they wanted it to be together, not only as twins, but they've spent their time becoming good doubles players. So they wanted to continue on in the doubles. So that sophomore year, they won the district doubles. We repeated again their junior year. We won the championship again. They repeated and won the district doubles. Now they advanced all the way to the state finals, and they lose. They didn't hang their head. They got a silver medal. They just went back out and worked even harder. Now we get to the third year. Guess what? I'm still coaching, by the way. No, I'm not a fool. They win the districts again 3 years in a row. I don't know if that's been done before. I've never looked up that stat. Then they win the gold medal. It was funny, we were on in the state level, we're playing teams out against Pittsburgh and down the Philly suburbs, etc. You know, all the girls and coaches are talking, they're saying, yeah, where did you get your training? Who are you getting trained with? And, you know, so-and-so would say, oh, this country club, or, you know, this academy, etc. So we come up with a good line. He says, yeah, we're training at the Wanksville Tennis Academy. Okay? So that was our little joke amongst each other, that there was no training there. They worked hard, and they kept getting better and better and better. And I went along for the ride, George. I went along for the ride. Now they graduate, and off they go to Shippensburg. Didn't have a chance to see them very much on that level, unfortunately, because with coaching. I missed that part of anything. I saw you a couple of times, but not enough. And it was exciting to see you and the success you had. But the legacy that they took from there, the next 3 out of 6 years, Biggerville Tennis were champions. We won championships without them. But they were still there in spirit, because that was the legacy that they took on. And we were very successful. And when they were playing, we wanted to go against better competition for them at the district and state levels. So when we were in the Blue Mountain League, we were playing the Gettysburg, we were playing, you know, Northern, and we were playing Harrisburg Academy, James Buchanan, etc. But we needed to have some other matches. So I reached out to Hershey, Cumberland Valley, Chambersburg, Carlisle, Biggerville graduates just maybe a little over 100. They're graduating probably 300 to 500, getting a lot of players, and they're getting their country club atmosphere tennis to get better. We beat them. They beat them. Their teammates beat them. We were successful. Certainly I was walking around sticking my chest out. Why wouldn't you? Okay? So that, again, just showed what could be done, even at a small level, in a small school, if you have people that are determined and be successful. And as they left and they went on, I started then liking the sport more. I learned more about it. You know, I would go and listen to when they were going to some of these professional trainees, coaches. I would sit there and I would take notes and I would learn. Forehand, backhand, serve, you name it. And it helped me to work with other kids. And some of the fun things that I can remember and during that period of time was the elementary kids who came up. I started coaching the boys in the mid-90s and became very successful with that too. And I said, what made you start tennis? They said, when we were in elementary school, the Motters, guys saying that now, okay, the Motter girls were just our inspiration, what they can do and what could be done. So we won a couple of boys championships. We won a district doubles championship. We went to the state level with the boys. Even with the girls team, when they started doing teams tennis, we were successful there also. But not a tribute to me, a tribute to their legacy and what they did. It was really exciting to be part of that whole adventure. It was the fun part and the memories and the moments was like traveling with their parents in their van and having picnics. You talk about eating, Perry. I did some good eating, you know, with those tennis girls before, after the matches, etc. We had a great time. It was fun when you're in that kind of situation. And I'm thinking of Jill and Joy's dad. He was a military veteran, and I just was at the American Legion Military Veterans Day ceremony this past Friday, and they mentioned his name. He died within the past year. And they said Gene Motter, and they honored the veterans who passed in the last year. And I'm just thinking to myself, Gene, wish you could just be here today and see, you know, your daughter's been in spirit, and he's looking down at you guys, and he's as proud as ever as he always was. So that's our story. And again, this legacy that they left is going on and continues with their teammates and maybe what they're doing in their lives. With people who saw them and remember them and gave to this community, but also this county, and now you're going on into this county fame with your legacy. So I salute you, ladies. Come on up. Okay. I know that J.I. comes before J.O., so I think this is Jill.
I thought it was age.
Oh, age before beauty, but she is.
I'm the youngest.
Yes, so even though she might have had a couple more wins than you in high school and college, and she was our #2 player and you were #1, Jill used to always say, well, I'm #1, but Jill would say, yeah, but I had more victories, and I'm older than you, better show me respect. So anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, you can either lay them there or give them
All right.
back.
Yeah,
Okay.
don't let me forget them. Oh, awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Coach Jack. Give me a hug quickly. I was going to try to get through this without crying, and he already had me tearing up there for a few minutes. Yeah, Kathy, we knew he was going to have trouble sticking to the time.
No, I had 10 minutes today, because 5 minutes for each, but I had 2 to present, so I had 10 minutes.
On a serious note, seriously, I taught middle school for 28 years and I would wing it, but knowing I was going to be here in front of a full room tonight, I had to write out my thoughts, so bear with me. On a serious note, I am extremely honored to be here tonight, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. I must say that looking around this room, I see a lot of athletes, a lot of coaches that I know, I've seen in the news, I respect, let alone all the plaques, people I know on the plaques. It is a little bit overwhelming and certainly humbling, so congratulations to everybody getting inducted tonight, as well as to those of you who were already inducted. This whole evening will honestly be forever a special memory to me. I'm happy to have my husband, Mike, here. with me tonight. We actually started dating at the end of my sophomore year in high school, so he's been around for much of my athletic career. He's seen me at my best and my worst, and he's still here. And of course, you've heard about my sister. Our husbands, by the way, are not twins. She and I do a lot to not dress alike. I don't know what happened tonight. They are not related in any way, but they didn't get the dress memo. My other family members are not here tonight, but they are no less supportive than Mike. My daughter Carly is a soccer player at Misericordia University. She's practicing right now. They have advanced to the round of the Sweet 16 for the D3 national tournament. They play Saturday, so of course she said, I want to be there, Mom. I said, you're going to practice. My son Jonathan has an intellectual disability, and honestly tonight would have just been a little too much, too overwhelming for him. He would have belted out "Oh" in Ed's lovely song earlier. But anyway, he competes in Special Olympics, 5 different sports. Yes, tennis is one of them. Believe it or not, Joy and I are actually the Special Olympics tennis coaches. I'm not sure why they asked us. By the way, Special Olympics is always looking for new volunteers and coaches, so I will put a quick plug in for that. If any of you have some spare time, we would love to have your knowledge and skills and wisdom involved there. My mom is up there in age. She actually insisted on staying home with my son tonight. Otherwise, I know she would be here. Like you mentioned, my parents were our biggest fans, our biggest supporters. Yeah, snacks, you name it. She insisted. She said, I'll stay home with Jonathan so you and Mike can go, fully relax and enjoy the evening. And I said, what part of speaking in front of a bunch of people do you think is going to be relaxing for me, Mom? But I don't argue with Mom, so... My dad passed away in May, like Joe mentioned. Otherwise, he would definitely be here reminiscing with Joe about all the good times we had, the breakfasts on our way to districts and the snacks. Food was always a big item. I know Joy had a little bit in her speech about that she took out because of time, but we did eat well. Mom and Dad never missed a high school match. They rarely missed a college match. In fact, I think they attended everything in college up until we started, flying to California and Texas for nationals. They didn't make those trips, but my Shippensburg University teammates sure did enjoy the Adams County apples that they always brought along, and they looked forward to that. So how did I get here? People often ask me, what got you started in tennis? Why tennis? Well, let's face it, Biglerville, or Biglersville, as everybody outside the area would say, and spell, that was always expected at the district level. They'd have that S, and I so badly wanted to take some white out and get it out of there. But it's not exactly a hotbed for tennis. But when I was very young, my parents would drag us, meaning my sister and I. We had older brothers, but they were out of the picture at that point. So they would drag my sister and I along to the Biglerville High School courts. My parents would play tennis with their friends, while my sister and I would be riding bike around the parking lot. And if any of you have ever been to the Biglerville tennis court parking lot, you know it's not very big. And that did not keep our attention for very long. So we were quickly, begging for tennis rackets of our own. They got us tennis rackets, and pretty much the rest is history after that. I actually still do have that wooden Chris Everett racket, my first one ever. I'm not still using it, but I do have it. After my parents taught me everything that they knew about tennis, they knew they needed to find someone else to help us further along our skills, and they found this local guy named Wayne Steinauer. I don't know if any of you know Wayne, but he is not only an amazing tennis player, but he's also a phenomenal person. He taught us the game of tennis. He also helped us to keep our heads on straight, and from time to time, I think most athletes probably need that. I know we certainly did. To say Wayne contributed a lot to my tennis success would be a gross understatement. He and his father, Rodney, really are responsible for making my sister and I the doubles team that we became. I don't think we ever did beat them, did we, Joy? But every time we played them, we always left the court having learned something new, and we were always determined that the next time we were going to get them, but don't think we ever did. Joe Yak, I'm not even sure where to start with what I have to say about Mr. Yak, but he saw something in Joy and I before we were even in high school. As 7th and 8th graders, we were managing the tennis team. We knew who he was because he had just started the year before we started. Finally, we got to 9th grade. We were eligible to play. So our relationship with Mr. Yak and his wife, Kathy, started a little early. And to be honest, as he said himself already, he really wasn't able to provide as much competition on the court. So some of you may mistakenly think that he didn't do much for us, but for those of you who know Mr. Yak, what I have to say next will come as no surprise. He was never at a loss of words. So prior to a match, between sets, when the coaches were allowed to come talk to us after a match, he always did have the right thing to say. He knew what I needed. He was a true competitor. And he liked to win as much as we did, so he offered that to us and helped us grow in those ways. He knew when I needed fired up. He knew when I needed calmed down. He always had a joke if we needed one. Just imagine those long rides to James Buchanan. He was also a driver's ed coach, and there could have been a few driver's rules not followed as well, but this is being recorded, so we'll leave it at that. Lastly, so Coach Yak, I am super grateful to have had you as a coach. Lastly, a few words about my sister Joy, and I won't look at her, I'll tear up. You might know she's also being inducted tonight. She and I are about as tight as two sisters can possibly be. We pushed each other in all aspects of life, including tennis. Some would say having your twin sister as a tennis partner was an advantage, and I would agree that it did certainly have its advantages, but being sisters didn't always work out the best. When we would travel to USTA tournaments over the summer, it was not uncommon for us to play against each other in the singles draw, and then turn around a few minutes later and have to play together in the doubles draw. So let's just say it made for some interesting car rides home. And we shared a bedroom, so even once we got home, there was no getting away from each other sometimes. But I can't think of anybody else I would have rather been beside. We're partners till the end. So congratulations, George, Joy, Lawrence, Perry. I'm proud to be part of the class of 2022 with you guys. Thank you, Hall of Fame committee people. Thank you so much. This is quite an honor. Very touching and truly a special evening. Thank you.
You know, as Joy's coming up here, one of the things I forgot to say was that, you know, one of the things when they were players, they were always the first ones on the court and always the last ones to leave. And I know when their first year or so, some of the players who really weren't yet into it in terms of what you had to do and the level you had to perform at, they would say, "Coach, what time is practice over?" And then after their first year, you never heard that. They stayed and practiced also with the Motter girls, and we again saw why everybody got better. It was just putting the time in and putting that extra time in. Joy?
Well, thank you, Coach Yak, for the kind words. It's fun to reminisce about all those good times. And thanks also to the Hall of Fame. It is a very special evening for all of us, to be sure. You know, when we first started playing, we were probably in like 2nd or 3rd grade, and like Jill said, our parents, you know, we watched them, and that eventually got us pulled into the sport. I never dreamed of the opportunities and the experiences that tennis would give me. I'm just a country bumpkin from Biggerville liking to play tennis. I have lots of championships at this point now, lots of trophies in the attic, medals, records set, still hold a lot of records. And you know what? I can't tell you the name of almost any opponent. I certainly can't tell you the score of any match. But here are some things that I can tell you that I do remember. Number one was our parents' never-ending support. Like Jill said, they did not miss a match. And you could tell where they sat beside the tennis court because there would always be a pile of cigarettes. So who knew that watching your girls play tennis was so stressful? But then having a son and daughter that played sports and were pitchers in baseball and softball, I finally realized how stressful it is when your child is out there playing a sport. Some other things I remember, my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, was always at the side of the court as well, high school and college matches. Let's be honest, tennis is not the most exciting sport to watch. So thank you, Brian. There was not a pile of cigarettes where he stood. Some other things I remember fondly from the tennis years are blisters. Where were you when I needed you, Lefty? Boy, so many blisters. If you don't know, a tennis court gets really hot in the summer, and your feet just aren't very happy about that. We did travel a little bit in the summer to try to better our game. We'd go to York and Lancaster and Reading, and we'd play girls from, all across the state. And we always got the same questions over and over. First of all, some of them will look at the two of us and say, "Are you sisters?" And we would go, "Yeah." And then when we'd say, "Well, we're actually twins," there were some people that thought that was an unfair advantage, that we were doubles partners and we were twins. Like they thought we had some kind of secret telepathy going on or something, I don't know. The next question was always, "Where's Biglersville?" And we'd politely remind them that there's no S in Biglerville. And then, as I'm surprised you remembered, they always said, "What tennis club do you play out of?" And we'd say, "We don't have a tennis club." And they'd be like, "Well, where do you play in the winter?" We're like, "We don't play tennis in the winter. We do other things in the winter at Biglerville." So we didn't have that traditional tennis club upbringing, as he mentioned. But I do want to also give credit to Wayne Steinauer, as Jill did, a local Gettysburg guy. We spent a lot of Saturday mornings on the court with him, and he would just drill us until we were dead tired. And then we would spend equal amounts of time on the courts with Wayne and his dad, Rodney, playing doubles. And it was a lot of fun. It didn't really seem like practice when you were having that much fun. So we owe a lot to Wayne Steinauer. Coach Yak, I got some memories from you, too. I don't know if you remember, but there was one year where you made every girl on the tennis team carry a tennis ball all day long at school. And we had to sit there in our classes squeezing that tennis ball to make our arms and hands stronger. Thanks, Coach. I also remember we would sometimes play this little game at practice where it's called King of the Court or Beat the Coach, where Coach Yak would be on one side of the court and the rest of the girls would line up on the other side of the court, and you had to play a point against Coach Yak. And if you lost the point, you had to do something like push-ups or something. I don't remember what he had to do if he lost. I'm pretty sure that wasn't a rule. But we did learn how very competitive Coach Yak was. He did not like to lose his point very often. In fact, I think some rules might have been bent occasionally so that he didn't lose his point. I also shout out to our college coach, Stan Line. He was a great fit for us as well. He had two main things that stuck with me. One, he would talk an awful lot about complacency. We could never be, too happy with the victory we just got. We always had to start working towards the next challenge that was ahead of us. And that stuck with me a lot. I remember that word complacency in a lot of times throughout my life. His other motto was expect the unexpected. Sometimes, you expect a match is going to be easy and it's not, and vice versa. And the same can be said for a lot of things in life. So be prepared, expect the unexpected. Some other things I remember about tennis is it gave me my very first ever plane ride. I was a freshman in college. We were flying to California to play tennis. We're like, can you believe it? We are flying to play tennis? 2 country bumpkins from Biglerville. And then we later made 2 more airplane trips to California and 1 to Texas. I mean, honestly, I don't know if I'm ever going to get back to those states ever again in my life. So what an experience that I had because of tennis. Because I had 2 parents that played tennis and started to include us on the court. So I am really, really lucky to have had all these experiences in my life just because of tennis. It wasn't always easy. It wasn't always fun. Did I mention blisters? But boy, do I have some great memories. And I got to do it all with my best friend by my side, my sister. I want to also thank my son, Tyler, and my daughter, Mandy. I know there's a lot of other things they could have been doing this evening. Tyler could have been in the woods hunting. Sorry, Tyler. But instead, they came here to watch their old mom get an award. Thank you also to the Hall of Fame for such a special evening. You've made this country girl from Biglersville feel very special. Thank you.
One of the things that I forgot right after the dinner was to have Ed Riggs come up here and introduce our guests that are here tonight. So Ed, you want to come up here and do that, please?
I don't know whether to remind you or not. It is an honor to be a member of this large club around the walls here. And there's a few people that come back every year, and I'd like to recognize those who are members of the Adams County Sports Hall of Fame who are here tonight. The inaugural class was in 2001, and Gareth Lefty Beiser was a member of that class. So if you stand, please. When I say your name, please stand and remain standing, and then we'll apply to everybody at the end. Class of 2005, George Shue. Class of 2007, you've met him tonight, John Campo. 2 here from the class of 2008, Dave Clunk and Parker LaRue. Class of 2011, Charles Warren. Class of 2013, Joe Yeck. Class of 2014, me. Class of 2015, Jeff Cook. You can read all about this in the paper in the Gettysburg Times tomorrow with Jeff Cook's byline. Class of 2017, Lee Rensel. And class of 2019, Jerry Eckenrode. And if I've forgotten anyone, please tell me and I apologize. All right. Thank you all very much.
Perhaps one of our past state presidents best summarized the philosophy of the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame and its existing chapters when he responded to a news media inquiry by saying, and I quote, "A Hall of Fame is a lot more than an overblown closet for some old relics. It is intended to be a repository for all things great about a sport. Its moments, its men and women, its methods. Most of all, it is supposed to be about Hall of Famers who define quality of athletics and who lead the right kind of life, a life of integrity for which there is no compromise." That's a wonderful thought. And before we get Lawrence up here with his presenter, naturally I have to go with Lawrence some football and track and field jokes. Okay, we already did basketball, so you're lucky there. All right. Why did the quarterback change the play at the last second? Why did the quarterback change the play at the last second? It was a snap decision. I'm a little disappointed. And it's the last few jokes. I think I should get more laughter. Okay? Thank you. Okay. What is a quarterback's least favorite lottery game? What is a quarterback's least favorite lottery game? A pick six. And finally, a little drum roll. Okay. A high jumper walks into a bar. The coach goes, "No! You were supposed to jump over it." Get it? The bar on the high, you know, you chose to, okay. Okay, I wasn't sure. Okay. All right, we have Lawrence Williams and his presenter is his brother. Okay, Terrence. Okay.
Nothing like the pressure of bringing it in the rear, huh? First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate everybody who is being inducted tonight. It is a great honor, and I'm sure your families are very, very proud of you. All right. 25 Lincoln View Drive. This is the location that my brother scored his first touchdown, made his first basket, and won his first race. So, at this location, you'll find no shiny hardwood floor, no perfectly lined grassy turf field, nor bleachers filled with adoring fans. But this is the place, my grandmother's home. This is where it all started, with the love of sports, the passion for competition, and the drive, and above all, the character. Who would have, I'm sorry. It's okay. Who would have known all the countless hours spent envisioning the glory of playing for the Chicago Bulls and beating the rival Detroit Pistons. Myself as B.J. Armstrong, which a lot of you guys probably don't know who that is. My brother Lawrence as Scottie Pippen, and our cousin Charles as Michael Jordan, and the entire Detroit Pistons roster. Who would have thought that recreating NFL Films highlights, which some of you might not know what that is, but those are the ones where they're moving in slow motion, and it's got the, it's got the dramatic drum rolls and things like that, would translate into my brother being a member of this esteemed Hall of Fame. It was easy to see that my brother was going to be a special athlete. And I should know, because I spent most of my younger years being his tackling dummy. As an athlete, my brother encompassed natural God-given talent, undeniable work ethic, and a fierce desire to compete that's unmatched, except for one other person I know who's also in this room tonight, our cousin Charles. Boy, do we compete at everything. Uno, Monopoly, spades. Brief story. So every summer, my wife and I host a summer bash. So this summer, close to the end of it, Charles was there, and Charles has a younger son who's a very talented athlete, and we have another cousin who are younger. And they were saying that they could beat my brother, Charles, and I in 3-on-3. That didn't go well. Right? There was money wagered. There was all sorts of things. So this summer, we settled the score. And I'm proud to say that my brother, Charles, and I let those young kids realize that, hey, we may be getting older, but we can still play this game of basketball. We probably played for about 3 hours straight. My knees are not what they used to be. So I felt it the next couple of days. Luckily, I work from home, so I didn't have to travel anywhere. But yeah, we compete. So getting back to what I was saying, undeniable work ethic, and above all, a high personal character. So I hope you're recognizing a theme here of character. Because beyond sports, that's what my brother is. He is a man of high character. You can look at his stats, and those things all speak for themselves, but I think that above all, it's the way he did it. My brother never cut corners. He never cheated the sport. I had the privilege of being a year behind him, so I was on most of his sports teams. And my brother was normally the most talented player that we had, but he was also the hardest working player that we had. And he went on to coach, and he carried that into the way he coached. He was the most prepared, probably a little over-prepared. I remember pregame practices, because I would coach alongside him. I had the privilege of doing that. And we would go through every single one of the other team's plays, every single one. And I can only recall one time that a coach called a play that my brother did not know. And when the other team scored that basket, my brother turned to him and said, "Good call, coach." Because that was the only play that he did not have scouted. So these characteristics enabled him to transition from a high-energy child to a dominant Division I defensive back to one tremendous coach who took a program from single-digit wins to the first undefeated basketball season in Gettysburg high school history in 3 short seasons. I think that's a testament to his work ethic and to his ability to lead young men. My brother is not only a Hall of Famer in sports, but he is a Hall of Famer in life. My brother epitomizes the word resilience as his was no easy path. He was met with obstacles on and off the field, from having a knack for pesky injuries, because my brother was one injury-prone person, but he always played, and having a mother battling a terminal illness while being 2 hours away with a demanding academic as well as athletic schedule. Through all that, my brother did what he's always done. He persevered. Again, a testament to that character. I'd be remiss if I gave the impression that L, which is what I call him, did this all on his own. He'll be the first to tell you he had an ironclad system of support, some of whom you see in this room tonight. I'd like to take the time to express my gratitude to basically every coach, every friend, every mentor who pushed my brother through this journey. So, in closing, my brother, when he found out that he was going to be inducted into Hall of Fame, he called me and he said, you know, I don't know if I deserve this. And I want to tell you, brother, you deserve it. You've earned it. And I'm emotional because this is a Cliff Notes version of everything that my brother has done and what is taken for him to get to this point. So, my brother, Lawrence Williams.
Save the best for last, buddy. Okay. You put all that underneath there and give that. He can hold it and give it to you afterwards. All right.
Man, I told him not to make me cry and tear up. I told him not to do that. I want to say congratulations to all the members that were being inducted to the Hall of Fame tonight. I know what it has taken for us to be here, the hard work and the sacrifices that we made, the time that we committed to becoming what we were to get here. So I congratulate you all. I also like to thank God for my life, my health, my strength, for all of his goodness and his mercy. I thank him for keeping me protected over the years. I thank him for bringing me from where I'm from, to where I am, to where I will be. As I continue to put my trust and my faith in him, I am forever thankful to him. I want to thank my family and my friends for their unfathomable love and support. I have 3 of my friends right here, 3 of my closest friends. Hey man, what's up? I didn't even speak to you earlier. What's up? Long time no see. My friends, they are a huge part of who I am. They have been supportive of me since I moved from Philadelphia to Gettysburg. They have never peer pressured me to be something that I was not. They understood what it was that I wanted for myself. I thank them for coming to pick me up 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away when my mom was sick and she couldn't do it. I thank them for coming to visit me. I thank my brother. Let me just go down the list here. Let me just do this the right way. All right, my friends that are here and that are not here, I thank you guys. We have always supported one another. We have been there for a lot of life's events, life and death. Our support and love runs deep. I pray and thank God every day for you and our brotherhood. Death is the only thing that will ever break our bond. I appreciate you guys very much. To my cousin Charles, who was my first inspiration. So, try not to get choked up. You inspired me to be great. I chased after you. You were my superhero. You taught me about being honest and truthful and how to compete. Story on about being honest and truthful. We went outside on a snowy, blizzardy day at that 25 Lincoln View Drive address. And we went out there, him and I went out there and we shoveled a whole bunch of snow for a couple of hours. And my Aunt Lisa had baked a bunch of cookies and she had gave us some. And my grandmother's house, we were down in the basement playing video games. And we competed at video games hardcore all the time. And, you know, we're eating our cookies, and he devoured his. And I took my time eating mine, slowly. I wanted to savor it. And then he asked me if I had any more cookies. And I knew where this was going, that he wanted some of my cookies after he done ate a whole dozen of his. And I told him, no, I don't have any more. So we are literally sitting side by side playing a video game, and me thinking that he can't see me. I'm breaking a piece of cookie off, putting it in my mouth, breaking another piece of cookie off, putting it in my mouth, chewing. And the next thing I know, boom, he punches me in the side of my face, and I drop to the ground. I'm like, what was that for? You got cookies over there. Don't you ever lie to me. And from that moment on, I never lied to him again, like never. After he punched me, it wasn't hard, it didn't make me cry, but it was enough to make me understand, like, he's 7 years older than I am. If he wanted to really do me in, he could. So from that day on, I never lied to him. That was a tough lesson. But those lessons helped me, and they helped me become a competitor, become the competitor that I am. So here's one for you, Chuck. So here's one for competition. Who's the best athlete in the family? I guess we'll never know since we were both inducted into the Hall of Fame. I'm glad to join you here, and I love you, big bro. To my brother and my best friend, Terrence, you have always been in my corner, and you have always been my #1 fan. You have challenged me to chase after what I wanted. You spent hours with me breaking down film in high school and having no qualms about telling me how bad I looked. Honesty, you never let me settle. T, you were honest about my performance. You were honest about what you thought, especially when you told me that I was soft. And you told me that I couldn't tackle. And you told me that I was never going to get on the football field if I was soft or I couldn't tackle. So I thank you for that. I remember our phone conversation during my first year of football camp at Lehigh. I called home, I was upset, I was emotional because I wasn't where I thought I was. I was at the bottom of the depth chart. I had a bunch of seniors and juniors in front of me, and coming from Gettysburg, I was the man. I was the athlete on my team, I was a star player, and here I was at the bottom of the depth chart. And my brother just talked a whole lot of sense into me and told me, if you have to go get what it is that you want. He told me to study the playbook, so when my time was called, I would be ready. 2 days after that phone conversation, 2 gentlemen in front of me ended up getting hurt. And then it was my turn. And I knew the playbook like it was the back of my hand, and I never relinquished that opportunity again. I always had wanted to fly for a football game, and that time I was able to get on a flight and take a flight down the south for my first collegiate football game. And because of you, T, I thank you. I appreciate you greatly. To Great Dane, my grandmother, and Coach Dooley. My grandmother passed away earlier this year, and Coach Dooley, who is on this wall, passed away, I want to say almost 10 years ago. I thank you for who you guys were in my life. I think about you both often, and I know that you are enjoying the show. I hope that I leave an impact on others and leave a legacy the way that you two did. I miss you both. Finally, to my mother, Anita. I thank you for life and love. I thank you for showing me what it means to fight. Because you getting knocked down, because you get knocked down, that doesn't mean that you can't get back up. You have been knocked down before, but we have been able to get up many times and times again. I thank you for how you raised us. We may not have had everything we wanted, but we had everything we needed. Our life wasn't picture perfect, but I wouldn't change any of it. I am certain of my life experiences helped mold me into the man that I am today. For that, I am forever thankful. We all have our stories, so let me just tell you a little bit about mine. So it has been a struggle for me to come up with what I wanted to share with everyone tonight, because everyone has their stories. And I do sports and athletic development, and I have a couple of my athletes right here that work out with me. And I always have something to say. I always have something inspirational to say, and I always try to encourage them every day. Cat with the laser pointer, those kind of things, right, Brody? So I began sharing with Brody and his dad and one of another young man that I trained with and his daughter Emma last night. I didn't know what to say, and I began talking to them, and they told me, that is your story, that is what you say. And I'm going to try to do this quick because I know everybody wants to get out of here, it's late. So for many of you that don't know, I was born here in Gettysburg. but I was raised in South Philadelphia, Northeast Philadelphia, Wilson Projects, West Philadelphia. That is what raised me. Our life, we had many ups and downs, from having to anything that we wanted for Christmas to us not having a single present to unwrap for Christmas at all, to being partially homeless, to wearing the same clothes on our back, to losing everything. I have experienced and watched people get shot and killed in front of me, to watching people being stabbed, to having my house shot up. A story that stands with me greatly is we were in our kitchen in the projects, and we just got finished eating dinner, and my mom was always strict about our chores. And for some reason, my brother said, "Mom, I don't want to take out the trash tonight." And my mom is usually like, "I don't care, you're going to do it. I don't care." And for some reason, she said, "Okay." No sooner than she told Terrence that he did not have to take out the trash, shots began to ring out. We all hit the floor. We laid down for a few minutes, and then my mom screamed and yelled, "Is everybody okay?" We get up, we check around, and the back door that leads you out to the backyard to the dumpster had a giant bullet hole in it. Pierced through the door into the refrigerator, and there it lodged. My life, our life, would be different if my brother would have walked out that door to take out that trash. And I tell you these stories because I felt that I was not deserving to be up here. And I know we all have our own stories, but I am a young man who has always remained humbled about a lot of things. And I guess this is my time not to be humbled, our time to not to be humbled, our time to say and share our stories of how and why we are where we are. No one can take this away from us. No one. And maybe the Adams County Hall of Fame, we might not be in Camden, but in Adams County, we are going to be forever epitomized among the many people along this wall. As my life continued on, sports played a major role. And that's obvious that I'm here. Football was my love, basketball was fun and enjoyable, track helped me to keep me in shape and improve my speed. I worked hard and put time in. There were days during the summer that I would work on the farm early in the morning, run from the farm to the high school to make football workouts, back to the farm to continue working, and then back to the high school just to get in a van with, of course, my man Terrence over here, to drive up to Harrisburg for summer league basketballs, only to just repeat that process over again. I say this because I have you here, that when we work hard, we are deserving of the things that we want. There is no one that can tell you that you are not deserving. And I've been told many times, or I have thought, that I'm not deserving of a lot of things in my life. This has allowed me to know that I am deserving of anything and everything that I want. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my life struggles, if it wasn't for my family, if it wasn't for coaches like Coach Riggs and Coach Smith, if it wasn't for people like my cousin Charles, if it wasn't for people like Chris Haynes who bullied me in high school. I love you, Chris. I wouldn't be here. Sports gave me togetherness, a sense of belonging, a love of challenging myself and competing and building relationships with others. At Lehigh, I gave up so much to get to where I wanted to be, holidays, summers, because I was in pursuit of being the best I could. My family is competitive, and we don't like to lose at anything, as my brother mentioned. We don't like to lose at anything. I would watch countless hours of film that helped me prepare for games to allow me to have 6 interceptions, 12 interceptions, 6 return for touchdowns. Yes, I am bragging about that because scoring a touchdown and running into the end zone and hearing the band play because of something that you did is a wonderful, wonderful feeling. And that all comes from Charles and watching him and Mr. Steve Ryder back there when I was young. They gave me that inspiration to go chase that dream. I am honored to be accepting this award and this recognition. It is humbling, but I feel like I am deserving. I know that I am deserving, and I thank the committee for voting all of us in. No one else gets to determine what we deserve. My job was to work hard towards what I thought I deserved. I thank you all. I hope that you all enjoyed yourselves tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, in closing, just one thing here. If you look at the back of your program, I'd like to just acknowledge a couple people that are here who have helped us out with the program. You know, it's not a cheap venture that we do. You know, things that cost, we try to keep everything at bare minimum. The plaques, etc. You know, so we ask people who help us out with sponsors. Two that are here on that gold medallion and have given for years, probably going back to 2001, is Kadori Memorials. Chris, you're here. Again, thank you. Tell your dad thanks for always keeping us or helping us out. I see the Gettysburg Wrestling boosters are here. Again, appreciate you honoring Coach Smith and everything you did there, and also helping us out. I guess those are probably the ones that are actually here. But again, think of these people if you are in the Gettysburg area and what they do and how they help out. Parker here is, you know, he has a real estate agency and he also helps out from that aspect too. If you want to watch this again, you could eliminate my part, but if you could fast forward or whatever. But Jeff Cook, who is not only our Gettysburg Times reporter for tonight, he'll be in the paper tomorrow. There will also be the community TV, right? And I think the next one of this will be on Saturday evening at 8 p.m. on Channel 12. So you could tape it, and you could hear it all over again, all these tremendous moments. And finally, never tell people you're going to just do it 1 year. Because that tennis that I said I was only going to do 1 year, I ended up staying for 23 years. And I did it because I loved the sport. I loved young people. Coaching was a great career. And let's end it with that, okay? Wait. Oh, yeah, we have the benediction. I'm sorry. Okay. Lefty? You want to stand up? Bow your heads.
Before I lead you in the benediction, I would ask the recipients tonight, please take time to read the prayer at the bottom of your certificate. It speaks worlds and worlds about what you've done, what you've accomplished, and what your families will accomplish through you in the years to come. So let us pray. Oh, Holy God, we give you praise and thanks that you bless us with the opportunity to share this evening together with these highly skilled athletes and coaches. Let us not forget the abilities of these honored tonight, and the theme came through loud and clear, Lord, to me. Persevere, persevere till you win the race at the end. That's exactly what Hebrews talks about. So we thank you, Lord, for this time together. We pray everyone has a safe trip home tonight. Grant us your love and your peace and give us your fellowship. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.